Howdy, folks. Welcome along once again to the LWB Club Football Pod. This is episode 3, and it is in association with the Recovery Hub in Carlow, Milano's Takeaway in Bagenalstown, Seamus Byrne Electrical, Carpenter's Bar, Lounge and Restaurant, Whelan Limited, the Baba's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, Scats, Bouncing Castles, and Precision Media Productions. Yeah, we're looking ahead to round 3 in the Carlow Senior, Intermediate and Junior Football Championships. We're going to look into a crystal ball as well and maybe predict our winners at this particular juncture. Haven't seen a couple of rounds. We might give those for the first 3 tiers. John Kelly's going to be coming on telling us about the Game of My Life book, which he has put together with some of Carlow's greatest ever hurlers and footballers. That's coming out. I think there's a launch on Thursday evening in Tinryland. Paul Broderick and Tommy Dwyer in attendance. So John will tell us all about that at around 9:30. He's going to be joining us. So plenty to get through. We will have some camogie results as well. They're just coming into us because there was a round of games this evening. Wouldn't fancy playing a game this evening for a number of reasons. Weather 1, electric picnic 2. But anyway, fair play for anyone that went out there and played a game this evening. And I think anyone that's training as well, not ideal. Brian O'Donoghue, Stephen Bambrick, how are you getting on, gents?
Evening, Kev.
Well, lads.
Hey, Steve.
What's happening? Steve, you're sending in results there as we speak. Maybe we'll actually start with Camogie, because I know you have a few results to hand as you're getting them there. So Naomh Bríd played Bagenalstown 3-10 to 1-4 in favour of Naomh Bríd, I think. I know there's a couple more on the way. Michael victorious over St. Mullins, and Munster Rangers 3-6, Ballinkillen 1-6. Another one, Kildavin 3-4. Stanta 2-6, just coming
That's
in.
in the junior now, last one there. Kildavin's first win in the junior. I was in at the Naomh Bríd Bagenalstown game, or Moneyville game. So tricky conditions. First half was the rain kind of eased off, stopped after, 10 or 15 minutes. The crosswind up in the top pitch. It was nothing in until Naomh Bríd got 2 goals. We've in about 2 minutes, I'd say. Ava Lawler and Rachel got the other one. And it was 2-5 or 2-6 to 1, 2-5 to a point or 2 at half time. And there was no score outside the second half for just a good 10 minutes. It went anyway. And Bagenalstown got back to 2. We got a point or 2 then. Bagenalstown got back to 2-7 to 1-4. And there was nothing, there was took a ball and could change the whole thing. And Bríd finished a bit stronger. Then they got 3rd goal from Emma Brennan near the end. And Bagenalstown, young team, that there's plenty to work with there. There's some cracking players all through the field there. So, I met Linda Kenny. Linda was actually driving in. I was after listening to Linda on the radio. She was promoting what's gone on with the under 14s and 15 development squads with the county there the last couple of weeks in Munster, and there was on savage work and the culminating under 12 festival of Camogie tomorrow night in Fenna. And there's a programme there, a savage programme, do justice any county final, and there's over 200 players involved tomorrow night in 5 grades of finals. Hopefully we'll get the weather to stay fine at least out there in Fenna. It'd be great to get that, give that bit of a help to the crowds to be out there. So even, there tonight there was another 16B Shield, Division 2 Shield final in McGrath Park as well. So that was on the main pitch, and Moneyville going that 3-6 to 1-4. So there was plenty going on there. You could look left or right, whichever way you wanted. There was a match going on. So we're getting to the time of the year where the matches are going to whittle down a bit more. There's knockout games coming out shortly. The football this week, we have 1 more week of, then it's die dog or produce the license after that.
It's after 9 o'clock. You could have said the other way that you said occasionally to us when you have a few cans of carling in you. We'll stick with the ladies for now, right? Because Bennecarry Tinryland obviously played St. Anne's the other day, had a big win. So that sets up another Bennecarry Tinryland O'Loughlin ladies senior football final. I know the date might be hot off the press there. I don't know, did you get it yet, or is it still?
Could be there's talks to September 18th, hopefully in Dr. Cullen Park. As I said, that's not. It's not in set in stone, and I think this St. Anne's and Fenna going to a senior B competition now with 2 teams out intermediate, so at least their season's not over. It's a big step up. Both of them have come up with intermediate in the last couple of years. So
I was laughing at that one-liner there, which is pretty good in fairness. The last 2 weeks in a row, we've had to wait about 20 minutes to produce epic one-liners. And yeah, Stevie's straight in. Well, no, that's going to be a cracker, and looking forward to that one as well. Absolutely. On a separate note, at EP, I put a little tweet there earlier. I think the Kilbride lads might be there next year because picture this finished up and then they went out to a little ABBA set and they must have been listening in last week and they must really want those Kilbride lads there. Anyone in around them what do you call it, that Island's Edge tent or that the Heineken part anyway, they'd want the Kilbride lads around. Maybe the White Mills will have a stand there next year too. Who knows? That's the scale. Right. We'll delve into the action this weekend. We got our fixtures the other day, and thanks to Jordile for producing those. We might go through them in order of timeline first, and then we maybe go into permutation and things. But Friday, Intermediate Championship, 7:30, Netwatch Cullen Park Range versus Kilbride. Good bit of stake there, semi-final up for grabs. Training Centre in Fenagh, also Friday night, 7:30, St. Patrick's versus Rogue. Junior Football Championship, the A part of that, 7:30, first team at home. O'Loughlin taking on Ballin, Tyroyland taking on Loughlin Bridge, Palatine taking on Bagenalstown Gales, and then the Junior B, Rathvilly at home to Fenagh also at the same time. On Saturday then, Netwatch Cullen Park, Senior Football Championship, 5:30, Palatine O'Loughlin, and then after that, 7:15, you have Bannerban Rogue. Intermediate Football Championship out in the Training Centre in Fenagh, 6 o'clock. Fenagh versus Navan and O'Hanrahan's versus Clown-Donegal at 6:30, same venue. Sunday then, 12 o'clock, early start, Junior A Championship, Clonmore versus the Fighting Cocks. I know that's a bit of a dead rubber, which we're going into later on, but that's some way to start a Sunday, lads, at 12 o'clock. If you're at on, get yourself out to Istanbul. Look at Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce. Senior Football Championship then. Huh?
Get to Mass first.
Get to Mass first, yeah. You could be going to Mass after it as well. Bless me, Father, for you've sinned. 2 o'clock, Netwatch Cullen Park, Senior Championship action, Tyroyland versus Bagenalstown Gales, which many people might argue is possibly the game of the weekend. And then after that, 3:45, Philly Mountains to Rangers. So that's where we're at in terms of the fixtures. Where do we start in terms of permutations? Do we go straight into talking about dead rubbers? I think I counted 3 in total, and then there's a few more that are not quite dead rubbers. But Brian, you put it eloquently there. Actually, what was the term you used to describe not quite a dead rubber, but a little bit to play for in terms of sorting out positions?
Non-consequential.
Inconsequential, probably. Yeah, second or third versus third. Yeah, starting out second and third, and yeah, pretty much that. So it's probably a topic we're talking about first, because I know we've given a little bit of a brief insight into permutations last week, and we will go into it in proper detail again. But it's mad because I'm the whole time talking about the league structure and how big of a fan I am of that. But there's a lot of people giving out about the league structure over there as well, and they're not impressed with it. I think namely because of 16 teams and maybe the 17 best team being the intermediate champions go on then as the 17 best team, whereas maybe in another county it's the 9th best team or the 11th best team, which tends to make a difference when it comes to Leinster. And they have their rubbers too with their structure. But
what is the league structure? How do they run it?
Simple enough. You have a couple of chances to get yourself straight into a quarter final. So if you win your first senior championship game, you play another winner in round 2. And then if you win the first 2, you're straight into a quarter final. If you win either of your first 2 games, you will play a round 3 against someone who's also either won one of the first 2 games. And then if you lose your first 2 games, you're going into a relegation semi-final. Pretty fair system. It's as fair a system as I can suss anyway. But some people just think the amount of teams in it is a little bit too much. But then given year to year, anyone can end up anywhere. But like we've talked about this quite a lot, and I don't want to take away because there is some big games on this weekend, and there's not what we can do about it this year. I think there's been a vote on it previously too, and people didn't really want to change. But I'm staying at the whole time. I'd like to see it go to 10 teams. I don't know what your thoughts are before we delve into it in detail. Any particular outlook on this, Brian?
I would love one group of 8, and call me crazy, but an open draw for each round, and whatever it is, first 2 teams to win 4 games into a final, or you win 3 games, you could be in the final. But I'd love to take. I think there's a downside.
Everyone play everyone.
Say again.
Would you let everyone play everyone kind of?
No, because you end up with loads of dead rubbers then. But say give everyone a minimum of 3-4 games. So like open draw the first week. Obviously, the second week you can't play the same team again. But so you could end up maybe with week 1 and the likes of a Rogue to Ireland like we had last week, or a Rathvilly Rogue in round 1. And then that opens it up then for the likes of maybe a Ballinabrana to turn over a Rangers or vice versa. But I think when you have two groups of four, a team, and I don't think any team would ever does this, but we can all look at two groups of four and go, well, if Rangers can win one game there, they're going to be in the quarterfinal, and it's too predictable. Where if it's an open draw, I think you're going to get teams who have to go for it from week one, and you can't kind of. I think it gets rid of this idea of trying to get teams trying to peak at right times and this kind of thing. But I don't think you'd ever get clubs in Carlow to vote for it. I just don't. And I'd love to get rid of this seeding and let the best entertainment for likes of us is the best teams playing the best teams as often as possible. And when you're keeping the likes of Tyrrell Rogue or Rathilly Rogue, or if you're keeping Palatine and Rathilly from playing each other every single year, that's not good. Every time Rathilly gets to play Pal or Rathilly gets to play a Rogue, I want to be there. I'm sure it's the same if Tyrrell are playing a Rogue or Tyrrell are playing the Blues from their senior, or whatever the case may be, when the better chance the rivalries have to happen and the better chance the best teams have to play against one another, or if you like the most equal teams or the most equal level teams, I suppose. Like in the intermediate, you want to see Kilbride playing Michael. You want to see the best teams playing the best teams. There is no perfect system. What you described there with that league system, that sounded horrific to me now. I don't get
you end up where you end up because you deserve to be there. Ultimately, that's the whole all of it. If you win your first two games, you're in the quarter final. You deserve it because you win your first two. If you lose your first two games, you're in relegation. You deserve it. You lost your first two. If you win either of your first two games, you're in round 3 with a chance to get into the quarter final again. You deserve it. You know what I mean? You can win one game this weekend, and this is not. I'm just using Michael as the example. Michael can win one game this weekend, have one win, and Fenna will have two, and they'll top the group ahead of Fenna. How can you reward a team for winning?
That's fair.
Less games than the other team. I do not get it.
And I suppose
I'm having this conversation year in, year out for the last 3 years. But
in fairness to the league system, so even the guys going for relegation, you're playing 4 games to stay up.
You have 4 opportunities to stay up.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the other side of it. Now,
okay.
You can go down. You can go down. You can go down to Kilkenny then and look at it from that point of view, right? Where, they've obviously got 12 teams, so it makes it that bit easier. And everyone plays each other, whatever. Top 2 teams in either group will play a league final, and they're in a good position in round 1 as well. The second 2 teams play a shield final, also in a good position. And then 3rd and 4th play 4th and 3rd. But 5th and 6th and 6th and 5th, they play a first round / relegation semi-final. It's just mixed in together. So it is a seeded system in accordance to your league games, which are also played with county players, I should add. And they're able to run off this, bearing in mind of a preference on one code, but they're able to run it off. And sometimes in years gone by, they've finished off this, having won All-Ireland in September, quicker maybe than we've finished off games. I'm not giving out our lads in there. Don't not take this the wrong way, anyone that's listening, right?
Yeah.
But I would just wonder, the next time maybe clubs go in to sit down and have a chat about the structure, which I think they had earlier this year, just have a look at this weekend, for example, and look at it. I just don't think you should have dead rubbers in a 3rd round of a championship in a group format of 4 teams. I just don't think it should happen. And I think it will hinder attendances. I think it might hinder gate receipts. Why are you going in there? You're going to a glorified practice match in some cases there. Do you know what I mean? Or you're going to shadow box. I don't know. Stevie, come in on this one.
Yeah, I know. Can't disagree with anything you said. On the other hand, you're looking at Tinryland and Bagenalstown Gales, and one of them is going to go straight to a semi-final. This brings in the other scenario. If Bagenalstown Gales get something out of the Tinryland game, a draw or a win, you're looking potentially an Aero Rathilly quarter final. And what and prospect that'll be for the neutral to get the teams like Tinryland, Pal, Bagenalstown Gales, Munster Rangers. The big guns will have knocked the other big gun out of it. Now, other saying that, if that does happen, the big gun that knocks the other big gun out will have come on leaps and bounds by winning that game as well. So that's like Michael and everyone in the intermediate. If Tull and Air Oaks a draw, and might get beat by 5 or 6 points by Fenna there in relegation. Possibly, I don't know. There's, I'm not sure. It's interesting, and it's like there's you probably have to 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 years maybe some structure, but definitely the A team structure. I think, even though it's the intermediate is definitely the one where it works best. I think because there's one side there's not much between any of the teams, but there's.
You're right. Yep.
Fenna look to be going well at the moment. Still have to produce a knockout game like last year. They're out in the semi-final. You know, as you saying, Leash, you end up where you deserve to be after 2 or 3 games. If you lose the first game, it's taking away your hands a bit. Lose the second game, your hands are tied behind your back nearly, and it's like Pal and O'Loughlin. Pal are going to be top. O'Loughlin are going to be bottom. They're in relegation. That's end of story.
Just to give another little example locally, the Kildare one is not something I'd be a big fan of either, as for what it's worth, because they've got their first round, and then if you win the first round, winners will go into one group, and you will get 2, I think, coming out of it. Am I right in saying that, out of a group of 4 in a winners group then? And then if you lose the first round, you go into a losers group, and all you have to do is top that when you're playing. Maybe like sometimes, like I think this year, I'm up the correction on it, but was it Nason at high, or was it high? It was 2 or 3 the big guns, only two out of the 3 big guns, we'll say, met in the first round. And you're nearly thinking, if I lose this, it is not the end of the world, really, because I'm going into a group that I'm just going to be so dominant in anyway, probably. You know, so there is no real, there's glitches in every format. There is ups and downs, and there is, you know, I suppose all those kind of cliches you want to throw out there. So that's probably just the joys of it.
Like an interesting aspect when you talk about structures and things, and Stevie, I think, is absolutely on the money. The intermediate championship is like serious value for money, because on any given week there, anyone could be anybody. Within reason, right? But in senior championship, only 5 different teams have won the senior championship in the last 35 years.
It's a fair statistic.
And it's not like there's plenty of players playing junior football in Carlow who, if they were to move to live in where one of the seniors are playing, there's no doubt they'd probably be good enough to make a senior team. There's not some magic potion in one part of the county that means there's better footballers, you know. But structure over a period of time is what's going to balance the scales. But constantly just letting one team up and one team down, or whatever the case may be, you're never going to really like 12 was too much at the time. I think your suggestion of 10
definitely
is there, but like changing it to 10 and expecting results next year, not going to happen. It needs to be 10 maybe for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you're probably hoping for someone to come along and overturn a Rathvilly or an Air Oak or a Pal or Tenoyland or whatever to try and spur on the others. But yeah, but 5 teams in 35 years.
Says no story, I suppose. The handiest way around these permutations, I know I've given the fixtures, we'll just go down through it group by group. So, as we said last week, I suppose, Palatine are, they're 4 points here. They're playing O'Loughlin. They've already played Rangers and Rathvilly, so they're guaranteed semi-final. O'Loughlin are guaranteed relegation final, having lost to Rathvilly and Rangers. So that's an easy one. Move on to Group 2, where, as Stevie has said, Tenoyland are on 4 points. Bagenalstown are on 3. They play each other this weekend. A draw will see Tenoyland straight through to a semi-final. A win will obviously see them through as well, straight to a semi-final. And if Bagenalstown were to win it, they would go straight through. Aero take on Ballinabranna. Aero on 1 point after 2 games. Ballinabranna, no points. So that kind of explains itself there as well. Aero just need a draw to get through. Ballinabranna would need to win that to get the last quarter-final spot and do the unthinkable and put Aero into relegation trouble. Intermediate football championship, moving down to that then. So in Group 1, we're getting the circle there here now, I don't like it. Kilbride are on 4 points. Grange are on 3 points. They face off. A draw for Grange a draw for Kilbride puts them straight through, along with a win. And if Grange were to win that, they would go straight through. Kildavin on 1 point, and the Blues no points. So Kildavin just need a point to get through. Blues would have to win that to put Kildavin into relegation trouble. Moving across to Group 2 then, and feel free to add to this. I know, Steve, you had a different scenario there for they've won. But Fenner on 4, have won the first 2 games. Michael, Nevon have drew their first 2 games. There are 2 points. If they're to be fan, they'll go straight through on the head-to-head. St. Patrick's then, they face Aero. Both of them are on a point. Both of them are on the very same score difference.
That's what I'm
Stevie,
saying. If it was a draw and Michael lost by 6 points or something, I'm not sure exactly what it is to Aero or to Fenna.
5 points, yeah.
Yeah, there could be one. And it looks like last year Clonmore were in the quarter-final or semi-final, and next one they're in the relegation. They're relegated, straight relegated.
What does that come to, actually? I know it's a very unlikely scenario.
But to go to score difference, there's more to be score difference.
But the 3 of them could potentially be on -5. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
As I said, St. Patrick's and Aero are currently both on -5.
Check the small print.
Yeah, T's and C's apply. I'm going to leave that one, lads, because I actually don't know. But if anyone is tuned in, feel free to let us know. Or if it's something that needs to be sorted out and someone can inform us in the coming days, we'll get a tweet out or something like that, because genuinely, I haven't a Scooby-Doo. Junior A, moving back down to that then. So, Ballin 4 points, Palatine on 2, O'Loughlin on 2, and Bagenalstown Gales on bottom there. So, Stevie, you were going out to the permutations of this, and a few bits and bobs can happen. O'Loughlin are taking on Ballin, we said, and Pal are taking on Bagenalstown. So, yeah, there's a little bit in that one now, isn't there? It's still like...
Yeah, there is, but it depends on Bagenalstown beating Pal. No, what the lot between O'Loughlin and Pal, and O'Loughlin beat Bagenalstown well, I suppose, in the window. There was nothing that game till half time, but Bagenalstown got fierce bet enough of Ballin the scene. There is a chance, but it's probably, do O'Loughlin to beat Ballin to get O'Loughlin have to beat Ballin, I think, and that would leave Pal on 2 points. If Bagenalstown beat them, they'll be on 2 points and they'll be in the head-to-head. So
yeah, O'Loughlin score difference is +7, Pal's is -1, and Bagenalstown's obviously -38.
Yeah, basically, you want to be, if you're in a tie with another team, you want to make sure it's the team that you've beaten. That's what these. See a team in Tipperary yesterday were to win by so much they didn't. Sean Tracy, I think they didn't, and a team in Cork had to win. I don't know who it was that'd be a 17-point swing or something, and just see a clip of them when they got hurt the other game and they got it. So it's I presume they're in round robin games as well that they had to. So there's one got through on it and one didn't. So, but the Tinryland Bagenalstown game is the one where there's a bit of pressure on both of them now. As in both of them got points of Air Og, so there's a bit of expectancy there of both of them now. So, and there's a character of a semi-final as well. So that'll be.
I'm going to come back to the predictions on that. I just want to go through the tables first. Clonmore 4 points, as we said, they're guaranteed. Straight through to the semi, having beaten both Loughlin Bridge and Tinryland. Loughlin Bridge, who faced Tinryland, they're 2 points each. That's just sorting out second and third. And the Fighting Cocks, they're in. That's mad. Like they got into that situation, which I suppose is the other thing with the championship that it could throw up. We were saying strength to a teams and nearly bounce straight up, and now look the West they're panning out, I suppose. Down to Junior B now. Not off exactly with all the permutations here, and you know what? The thing is not really low enough for me here either. Oh, here we go. St. Mullins in Group 1, 4 points. Ballarana 2, Killavin 2, and Airog there on bottom. And over in Group 2, you have Aska topping that on 4. Actually, I want to give a shout out to Aska now in a sec. Raffili on 2, Fenna on 2, Nevon, no point yet. But it wasn't long after the podcast had finished last week, possibly Tuesday morning actually, and I saw a result in under 17 Division 1. Now, Brian, this is not great for your ears, but for the bigger picture, is excellent. Aska 6-10, I think, was Raffili 1-11 or something like that. I don't want to say poor Aska, sounds condescending, right? But they have such limited resources there, and a lot of time, player pools and all that are not plentiful. That is savage. I know there's loads of great work going in down through the underage grades. We see something like that happening, it buys into what we're saying about the grades down along, you know what I mean, and coming up into senior and all that. That is fantastic to see. I was delighted to see that.
Yeah, no, and in fairness, even when I was under 14 or 16, there was a couple of games you sort of look forward to every year. Like I remember saw us be full back, and we were playing Aska, and we were beating them by so much. I was brought out to midfield, which wasn't a good sign for Aska, But it's not too long ago. Aska were going well in intermediate. Like Ronan Donnelly was centre field.
Johnny Kavanagh,
absolute class act. Barry Connolly was there as well. It's not that long ago. Aska were thereabouts, heading for senior football. So it's actually as great as a surprise and as good as a result that is for Aska to beat Rathvilly under 17. It's not it's not that long ago that Aska had some real talent there. Just to go back to the I'm sure it's the same for club, but in the inter-county scene you've head-to-head, then you score difference. Then apparently it goes to highest total score for. If they're still level on that, it goes to total goals for. And if that's still level, then it's a playoff. So there's 3 or 4 bits there to be worked out before you get to the playoff stage. But
that's the rule on it. Fair play to you for getting that one.
that was inter-county now, so I presume it's the same. It's going to be the same for if counties adapted for their championship,
I was at 6th and 7th to try and get an explanation on it there anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of that part covered. So we'll go through the predictions for round 3 then. And Stevie, I know you're mad to talk about Tin Island and Bagenalstown. That's because you're half Bagenalstown man anyway, as you saw when the senior hurling championship was taking place. That everybody thought was on your decoy.
On the town.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, Group 1. I'm not even mad on talking about some of these predictions, permutations. Pal and O'Loughlin. Maybe O'Loughlin want to go, and I don't know what their plan is. I'm just going to say Pal in a word. I won't give much more airtime after that.
Yeah.
Brian and Steve, you're abstaining, and I won't put you on the spot for that. Rathvilly and Rangers. This is an interesting one. Rangers lads might have another game, or they will have another game under the belt. Let's see where they're at. Is there a kick in Rathvilly? Are the boys back? I'll probably still go with Rathvilly. I think it'll be a sore after the last day. Brian, do you want to abstain from this?
We're missing 10, not going well. Something in the water out here. I know you'd hope
to be kicking them,
yeah, and it looks like lads are back as well. So all going well. My one big fear was the goals Rangers got against O'Loughlin were top draw goals, and some of them were straight through the centre, and that's where we've been conceding goals. So if we don't concede goals, I'd hope to see Rathvilly getting over the line. The only thing is, like what we're saying, ultimately it's not really going to make a difference. Just depends who Rangers and Rathvilly are going to play in the quarterfinals.
Yep, Steve.
I should go for Rathvilly, but Rangers loses a game to get plenty of football into the system. As I said, last day, the Park to Pal result shot against O'Loughlin. The 6 lads back, fair enough. They'll use this as a good warm up to the quarter final, and as I said, part of the plan and that'll be decided as well.
Okay. Tin Island Bagenalstown, and this is a juicy one, definitely. And a very hard one to call as well, I must say. I just think that big win over Éire Óg, and this would be the most Tin Island thing possible. It would have been over the last 2 years, even though we're thinking there's a little bit of difference in them this year. But if they were to go and lose to Bagenalstown at the weekend, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world, because you've seen it time after time again. And maybe if they go and produce here now again, it might be another further sign of things changing, and there is a bit of a shift there, I think, anyway. But no, I'm going to go to Tin Island. I think they'll win. Brian?
Bagenalstown.
Okay. Stevie?
Haven't seen Bagenalstown, so I'm only going with what I've heard, and I've seen Tin Island both games. Been impressed with them, fairly impressed with them. So just on that, I'll give Tin Island a nod. But if Bagenalstown girls did 16 wides last night, now I don't know what positions they were shooting from, but
it was a terrible game.
Yeah, well,
absolutely terrible.
The wides are you kick 15 or 16 wides, that's not going to wash from now on. They go over that game, that won't work, and they're not going to be. They'll have looked at that and they'll say, right, those 10 shots there, they shouldn't have been took out, or 5 of them. So, they're
going to find it difficult unless but they have proven from what they did against Éire Óg, just from what I've heard now, and I didn't see the game, but they have the ability to break very, very quickly. So it goes back to what we were saying about Shane Redmond last week. If that ball doesn't go dead, Tyrone do commit a lot of numbers forward. And Binders don't have the pace to get at them the far side. But if they don't get at them at pace, they're going to find it hard to break them down, as are nearly every team in the championship. So this is what makes it intriguing.
They'll probably have John Murphy back. They have what's the man Ryan. He's a big unit there, full back, and going forward. He was a big help the last day. I'll give to Ryan the slight nod, but
okay.
That'll be from a neutral point of view. That's the game of the weekend to see. You know, there's a little bit of pressure on both of them. They both got results against their Oak for varying reasons. They go, okay, could say Bagenalstown should have got possibly won because the numerical advantage from more, but they got a point over. They got conceded 130 to them a couple of years ago, or 30 points in a semi-final a couple of years ago. It might be different their Oak team, but like, you know, this is a quarter final now, basically. In any terms, so it'd be interesting to see.
Okay, there we go. Erogue and Byrne. Byrne are probably looking at this now at the moment, thinking, Jesus, lads, we're in a bit of trouble here, but we're probably getting Erogue at the best possible time we could ever have hoped to get them, but they have a lot of work to do. I think Erogue are still. Brian?
Look, yeah, Erogue. Was it 2010 when Whelan actually beat Erogue in the last round of the thing and still got relegated because they won a game in the group, ended up playing relegation against Tulla. Tulla managed to get it together and beat them in the relegation.
Was Pal? I think it was Pal, was it, man? Yeah, maybe it was now. But Ballin beat Erogue, but Ballin played Pal in the relegation.
It was before.
Yeah.
It was before one of the county finals, I think. We won the Rathvilly O'Loughlin county finals. That was on, I think.
It was mad. I think it was that a replay as well? It could have been. That could have went to a replay.
I think it could be right.
Mad enough.
But like you'd have to be thinking Erogue there. Like unless, like we said it last week, Erogue could win this game, win the quarter final, get on a run, and you wouldn't put it past them. I couldn't see Ballinabrana getting, and especially at the two games they've played haven't been at really try home either. So I don't see what they have to bring to the table that's going to overturn Erogue. And Erogue, it's a must-win game for them. So you really wouldn't give Ballinabrana much hope. And that's trying to be as nice as I can.
Okay. At this particular juncture, lads, we're going to have to keep the segment quite short. But we're looking into the crystal ball, and obviously we have a couple of rounds played now, and it would be just interesting to go back on county final weekend and see how horribly wrong we were. But your senior, intermediate, and junior A champions, I want them here now, and we have about 2 or 3 minutes. Stephen, I'll start with you.
I'll still go with Clonmore and Fenn anyway. I said Tinryland just as a different thing at the start of the year.
And he did, in fairness.
It was only 2 people, and one of them was you and one of them was Joe. But, just I don't know. I know they said the national last week the championship would blow it up. It wasn't. You know, it didn't knock Rathvilly out, didn't knock Erogue out. It's after giving the teams a beating hope and a bit more enthusiasm. The 2 of them slipped to be beaten in a knockout game. I don't know the fake. I'm looking at the benches and I'm trying to see who have pal enough on the bench to come in if they're in trouble with 16 or 17 lads that are, you know, generally starting games. The bookies still go for Erogue. They have Rathvilly and Pal Jane second. I'm going to go with Rathvilly. I don't know for some. I think Brendan Murphy coming back again now. It just adds a lot to the team. Presuming he's back, but I'm going to go with Rathvilly.
Okay, Brian. Stevie took up 2.5 of the first 3 minutes there, so
like obviously hoping and praying Rathvilly. The Pal game was a big. That was a real fright. Yeah, I'll go Rathvilly.
Okay, intermediate and junior.
Intermediate Fenna. Junior A Clonmore.
All right. Junior A Clonmore, I think still. intermediate, Fenna, senior. I have a feeling. I know there's a lot of words going out there, but I'm inclined to agree with the bookies still. I think Airog can get it together. I think they might get it together, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt still. So that's where we're at. I haven't done predictions in intermediate and junior games, but I'm going to have to move on here, unfortunately. So that's, I think, okay, right. That's where we are. We're about 6 or 7 minutes behind in terms of running order thing. We're not going 2 hours. So we're going to talk to John Kelly now. He's going to join us. He's waiting here patiently backstage. John, how are you getting on, sir?
How are things, Wes?
Not too bad. I'm sorry there. Yourself and Steve, you look like billboards at the moment. I hitched put a tilt on the laptop if you can, lads. There we go. It barely fits in you, about 2/3 of a screen. John, fair play to you, boy. The game of my life book. I think you have a big launch coming up this week, so maybe you'll tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the game is called Carlow, Game of My Life. It's been published by Liam Hayes, of course, former Meath footballer and Carlow football manager. He's a journalist himself, and he is the brainchild of this publishing company called Hero Books. And he's doing this series called Game of My Life, and he's hoping to write a book for all 32 counties eventually. I'd say there's maybe 15, 16 so far. Excuse me. So what it is basically is I've interviewed 30 Carlow players from the 1960s right up to the modern day between football and hurling. They all pick one game from their career that stood out for whatever reason, could be good, bad, or indifferent. And then they look back on that game, but then they kind of look back on their career as well. So I suppose they're kind of mini memoirs in a way, you know. So we started it last July. Finally, now we got to the end of the road. Book is available online, and we're having launches, 5 launches, which is a bit ambitious, I thought, but that's what Liam Hayes and the publishing company wanted to do. So I wasn't going to argue with them. They know their stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going around the clubs now and getting the book. You know, because I think this is the first time a book like this has been done by a national publisher. I know Kieran Murphy from the National's done a book a couple of years ago, a very good book. GA Giants in a Small County. But I think this, as far to my best of my knowledge, this is the first time a book is actually by a national publisher about Carlow GA. So very, very exciting. And I'm very excited for the genuine Carlow supporters like yourselves and other supporters to read the story, because there's some fantastic stories, like, you know, starting from Moling Morrissey and Tommy Corker in the 60s, all the way up through all the decades, right up to the modern day. You know, there's some fantastic stories, some great memories in there. So I'm looking forward to the launches, looking forward for all the Carlow people to get their hands on it and have a good read. The launches is starting this Thursday the 8th in Tinryland Clubhouse, Friday the day following night, Friday in Airog, Friday the 16th in Pal Clubhouse, Wednesday the 28th of September in the Railway House in Bagenalstown, and Thursday the 29th of September in Lawler's Bar in Rathvilly. And but as well as that, like, you know, it's a Carlow book, so just because it's in the launches in Tinryland or Airog or Pal, it's not a Tinryland, Airog or Pal book. It's a Carlow book. So players from any club, I said this to all the players as well, like, you know, players from any club is welcome at any launch. You know, it's a Carlow book, and I'm hoping to get Jim Bulger to one of the launches, hopefully Thursday night in Tinryland, just to show that obviously him, the chairman of Carlow GA, that it is a Carlow GA book. It's not about Tinryland or Rathvilly or Airog or Moish or anyone, you know. We're just spreading the launches around the county. But yeah, and like I said, I'm very excited and looking forward to the genuine Carlow fan. There's some great, fantastic stories in there, you know.
Mm-hmm. You even got 1 or 2 of a Bambrick, I heard, did you?
Yeah, well, I threw a curveball in there, having Stephen in there. Yeah, it was like did you ever get a CD and did you ever buy a new CD and there's a secret track at the end of it, or a silent track? That's what I was doing with Stephen. I'm showing out a secret player in there, and a curveball in there. But you know, like, the thing is, like, you know, it's like there's some great players in the book, right? But like some players, like, you know, they mightn't be the best talkers, and that's nothing to do. That's just some people are shy, you know. In fairness to Stephen, like, you know, he mightn't be the most well-known Carlow player, but he wore the jersey for 5-6 years, whatever it was, and he had a very good story. You know, he picked the game of O'Loughlin, the 1997 final, but, you know, he went over his career, football and hurling, and we even talked about his driving tests and, you know, weddings and afters of weddings and stuff. But, you know, he had a great story, and, you know, that's what it's about as well. It's about, you know, he wore the jersey for 5-6 years. He had a good story, as good as anyone else, you know. So I
don't feel as bad now.
Huh?
What's the is there any one story that stands out to you, like, or is that giving it away?
It's hard to pick. Like, I would say, there's a lot. It's hard to pick. For me, I would say Moling Morrissey, right? Like, Moling Morrissey is the first player in the book, and the game of his life he picked was 1962 All-Ireland Intermediate Final, Carlow beat Galway. Like, when I was growing up, 14, 15, 16, really getting into Carlow GA, like, you know, I would have heard of like some Moling Morrissey and you know, his brother playing with Wexford and all this kind of crack. And for me to actually be sitting down and having a chat with him, and him to be talking about 1962, and he actually made his debut for Carlow, he said, in 1959 when he was under 16. So to be sitting down and talking to Moling, a legend in Carlow GA, and talking about those games and talking about playing against Christy Ring like it was just yesterday. You know, he was wonderful to be able to chat to him. Like, I mean, these lads are legends in Carlow GA, like, you know. And I think for a lot of the younger supporters who mightn't have heard of the likes of Moling Morrissey or Tommy Corkin or Richie Moore, you know, I think it's important to keep these names going, and hopefully that's what this book will do, you know.
Did you have to get the solicitors to oversee it just in case there's any untruths?
They weren't interested. When I said Carlow GA, they weren't interested. So I'd look, do what you want.
That's great, man. Like, and to be honest with you, I would have been similar mindset with my time in the Ganzi series that we started off the podcast with. You know, it's just to sit down and listen to those stories is, you know, you'd be in awe, really. And obviously, I found kind of the same as you. You know, some lads you could do 3 or 4 podcasts with. Other lads, you probably have to bait it out with them a little bit, but there's great stories in there. Just take that little bit more work. But to just sit there and look, you know, I suppose lads that you're looking up to and all, when you're a kid and get to hear their stories, I think it's pretty cool. And for you to have your name to that book, that's pretty sweet, like, and no one can ever take that away. In terms of where it's available, obviously you've mentioned the launches, but Amazon I know is one particular place where I think I saw a link for. Do you want to give us a bit of an insight into that, where people can pick it up?
Yeah, so it's available at the minute online on amazon.co.uk. It's going to be available on an ebook in the next couple of weeks. I think that takes a bit longer to get together or whatever. Hopefully within the next 7 days, it's going to be available in Easton's in Carlowtown. And myself, I'm going to be in Carlow one day next week, and I'm going to be selling the books locally myself, because like the likes of Liam Hayes and Hero Publishing, they deal with Easton's, the big national publishers. They're not going to deal with the small shops around Carlowtown. So I'm going to go around myself and hopefully stock it local, you know, in Carlowtown and around the county. But like I said, it's going to be in Easton's within the next, let's say, 7 or 8 days from now, and it's online. And if anyone does go to the book launch, there'll be loads of books available on the night for anyone to buy. So there's plenty of places to buy it anyway. Yeah, so you have no excuse. Plenty of places.
For those of us with short attention spans, is there pictures, or is it all?
Oh, there's pictures in it, yeah, just for the people who can't read and just like pictures. There's plenty. It's a picture book as well. So for example, like you know, say Stephen picked the 1997 county final. So there's a picture of Stephen. There's a match report of the game. There's team lineouts and everything. And it's funny because, like, of the 30 players in it, so there's 29 match reports and 29 team lineouts. The only one, I signed up to the Nationalist Archives, and they have all the newspapers going back to the 1800s or whatever. And there's only one match report and one team lineout I couldn't pick. That was Tommy Corkin. The game of his life he picked with the 1962 Carlow football semi-final, Carlow against Pal. And so I logged on to the Nationalist Archives and I could find this game, but there's only a small little match report, but there's no team lineouts. And I got on to another John Kelly from Pal, Scott's brother. And I said, what's the story there? Like I said, you know, would you have any team lineout or anything? He said, no, look, I think he asked another historian in Pal, and the reason there's no match report is because Pal had 2 illegal players at the time. The team lineouts weren't given to the Nationalists. All it was the scorers. So I found that out. So, you know,
brilliant.
was a nice one. Yeah.
No, that's not that's good anyway, isn't it? Like,
That's a story in
good as
itself. Yeah.
That's good in itself. Like, yeah. So I suppose that was accepted back then, wasn't it? Really, yeah.
Yeah, I know Stevie's a similar story with. He tells this regularly enough about lads playing with St. Martin's that I think when he came down and appeared with Nate Breed for was that county final as well? Possibly, yeah.
1971 Junior League final. Ballinkillen had an absolute savage team and won the senior 2 years after. And the story goes, my father came down to the tunnel to see the boys coming out. It was all Auckland or St. Lazarians. It was all Auckland basically. I think it was called all Auckland. And as he looked, there was 4 or 5 lads he hadn't a clue who they were. He was looking to see what numbers were playing. And Low Quirk, Danny's father, Danny would have played with us for many years in football in Hurling there, won senior and both. And Low Quirk would have been fullback. So Luke decided George Doyle was his nephew, serious good hurler. And it was that time it was Cone, Muckalee and Ballyfoyle were 3 different teams. So he landed up into the yard anyway, and George Doyle was he was nearly he brought him on anyway, and he got a couple of the Morns, and the Morns were the main part of the St. Martin's team, won the All-Ireland 1984, and he brought a couple of Morrisseys then as well. Now, the Morrisseys would have been related to the Bambricks, my first cousins, David, John, Noel, and all them and more. They were first cousins on the other side. So they held the hunt anyway. Nicky Morrissey got injured and ended up in the district hospital. But good knowledge, the boys were half Kilkenny with him. They could only draw with Ballinkillen. And there is a match report, and I have actually John Kelly, the other John Kelly, the pal John Kelly, as I said, he sent me on the team program from that, and you want to see the program at the back of it. There's about 9 Barnbricks in it. Now, there was 9 Barnbricks around, but there wasn't 4 of them that said how though. And Nicky Morrissey got cut. He got broke up anyway. He ended up in the district hospital, and the nurse says, I know him from O'Loughlin. You're not from O'Loughlin, she says. And then Paddy Grace, the legendary chair or secretary in Kilkenny. There was another Nicky Morrissey up there, probably a first cousin of Nicky Morrissey's, and he was walking down the street in Kilkenny one day, and Paddy Grace says to him, "What were you doing playing a match in Carlow last week?" And this other Nicky Morrissey didn't know how he was on about. But I don't know whether they got banned or whoever after anyway, but that Ballinkillen team, they had only 15 names on the programme, but they were all, I think they had only 15 and O'Loughlin had 22 or 3 or 4. But there was lads like Philmini. I asked Philmini, were you playing that final? No, and they're down the programme. But just, I says, I don't know what was even talked out. So you could get away with it that time, you won't get away with it now. And definitely what John said about I remember that happened with soccer. That often happened with soccer back when we were playing with Cran or Oak United. Someone brought in and dumped me down the match report. He was should be a football trainer with Carlow or something. So
I'd say it's still accepted in the soccer, it's locally.
Well, if Joe Nolan was on here now, we'd be giving him a good ribbon about Nurney anyway, because they're over 35 season starts and they're just kind of a minor.
Yeah, but he said they were born in leap year, so.
Yeah. But Scats though, John, the names John has in the book, like the 30 lads, I'd say there's 6 or 7 of them in the story I have, and not like Richie Moore's in it as well. It's not the dual playing as well, you know. It's mad. The way it's a small county, we know everyone, and if you don't know everyone, you get to know everyone. And
most of Stephen's story wasn't about playing anyway.
Yeah, the match was just in the way.
The Atlantics.
Yeah.
One of the brothers, Trevor, didn't play too much football, but he played under 16 one time for a Philly, and he went to a match in Grange, and one of the Grange players drove to the match. Now, it was under 16, so either he was too young to be driving or he was too old for under 16, but there was something wrong with that story. That's the way things work. John, just say to you, like, it's some achievement to write a book. I'd say 100 out of 100 people think about writing a book. I'd say 70 actually go and maybe try start one. I'd say 50 maybe do a bit of research and get a little bit through it. And I'd say very, very few actually get one published. So it's an amazing achievement, and it'll be there forever. Like, so yeah, you've made your mark. So just you should be very proud of yourself, and congratulations. Yeah, no,
I'm happy enough. Like, you know, the writing, without being too cocky, the writing kind of came easy enough to me. Like, because something I've always been into. I used to do a bit of writing for the Nationals years ago, and I wrote for a couple of websites kind of over the years, and So the writing is something I've always been into, and obviously Carlow GA is massive for me. Like, so to be able to get the two of them together, and like I say, like, you know, these fellas are my heroes. You know, I mean, you hear Moling Morrissey and Richie Moore and these lads, but then even going to, geez, I remember like when I was 13, 14, going to Carlow games and seeing Johnny Nevin and Sean Kavanagh and hearing about Paddy Quirk, and then, you know, for Johnny Nevin to invite you down to his house to have a chat with him. And, you know, I met Paddy Quirk outside the service station down in Tinryland. We had a chat on the benches there. I mean, geez, I mean, for me, like, I might as well be meeting Roy Keane or Ryan Giggs or one of these lads, you know. So the interview was very, very enjoyable, you know. So thanks anyway. So I just hope that like you say, it'll be there forever, and I hope the genuine Carlow people get out and buy it, you know, because there's stories in Carlow as good, if not better, as in any county in the country, you know.
Deadly. Before you go, what's your predictions for the championships? Senior, Canadian, junior.
I think Clonmore look for the juniors straight away. I mean, you look what they did to Tinryland last week. Jeez, Tinryland didn't even score. I can't remember the last time that happened. Any team. Intermediate. I always think intermediate is harder to call than senior. There's so many teams intermediate that come in it. I don't know. I'm going to sit on the fence in intermediate. I don't know. It's so hard to call. Like the senior, you'd normally pick Rogue and Rathvilly top two. I think Pal are young and they look the two games so far, like they look good, you know.
Look at the smile on his face. He thinks he wants to ride it. He thinks to ride it. Look at the head. Look at the head. Like
Tinryland 1981, the last time they won it. They haven't even won it in my lifetime. We've seen many false dawns in Tinryland, and they've had two good wins so far. But like if they lose their next game to Bagenalstown or they lose quarter final, like that Rogue win will be forgotten about, and it'll be back to poor old Tinryland when they win it again. So, like the old saying, you're only as good as your next game. So that Rogue game will count for nothing unless Tinryland back it up with quarter final, semi final, and I mean, you know, not only have Tinryland won it since 81, but they've only reached two finals in that time. I mean, for the Tinryland's a football mad place, and they should be at least reaching more finals, you know. So I think it's high time we got there. But look, I say it's Bagenalstown are a common team the last 2 or 3 years, so it's going to be a serious game this weekend. Probably the toughest game Tinryland they've had this year, anyway.
There we go, John. Thanks a million. So great chatting to you, and look, the best luck with the book and all. All right, Jay.
Thanks a million, lads.
Thanks a million. There we go. What a gent. Yeah, very best luck indeed. Are we at the AOB part already? This is amazing. It's probably the quickest podcast I think of nearly ever done on a championship weekend. Anything else to give a shout out to before we finish? Are we happy enough?
Have you had time for a quick Paddy Quirk story?
Do it. Always have time for a quick Paddy Quirk story. Yeah,
we were very, very, very lucky going to school in Tullow. Paddy was engineering teacher, you know, and for years, and invariably he was nearly always over. If not the junior football team, he'd be over the senior football team. But I remember we went out to train one day, and he used to come out onto the pitch with wellies in the boots, like, and we came out to train one day, and bitter cold day, and there was a gale force wind blowing. Like, if you know, the pitch in Tullow, like from the town end blowing out towards kind of Mount Hulsey, and he happened to walk down behind the back of the goals, and someone took a shot, and the wind caught it, and it went out kind of to the right, and he was standing on the end line closer to the corner than he was to the goal, and someone said, "Go on, sir, kick it in wellies," and from the end line curled it over the bar in wellies. Absolutely insane. Yeah. And then 2 minutes later, Paul Jr. ran in, tried to shoulder him, and he put him on his arse as well. So it was just, it was, but he was an absolute legend.
I mean, 15 county medals, like 15 senior hurling medals, and football, and they should have won 2 or 3 more football hurling.
Yeah. Did Michael used to use him? Used to say that they'd pull Cork from the county team if such and such a game wasn't refixed and all this crack. Wasn't that kind of a tactic they used to use down there?
Big conspiracy theory coming.
Allegedly.
And you were the one bringing up solicitors earlier.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's fair power to have though. Jenny Mack, yeah, serious player. Unfortunately, I don't remember Paddy playing, like, which is a shame.
Near the way.
Well,
you know what I mean?
We were under 40. We were under 14B We beat Boneheadster Rangers with Boris at the time. And he presented us with the medals up in the hall in O'Loughlin. And 4 years later, there was, I'd say, 4 of us playing senior against him. But he cut down his ash trees, must be in the garden or wherever, anyway, and he would cut branches and boughs off from there a couple of years ago. And I heard lad says to me, I was looking look out for sticks. We're definitely looking out for them now anyway. They're taking the climate, the price of everything. But who landed in with a lot of sticks one day on Paddy Quirk, and she was talking to the yard, and she like the man, you wouldn't know he kicked the football or a hurling ball. It was just, I was talking, remember getting that time he was, he just, it was when Giant Devon came along, he was compared to him, or, Pat Foley or Mercy, and up here he was, 23 when he died, and, these lads, you see the poor tragedy below with the Bromhead chap in Kerry, he's 13, he's starting out, and he was going to be, following his father's footsteps in the jockey and his grandfather's well before him, and these things, when you have these people in your locality and things, like they're, there's, you look at Ronaldo's and all these guys in the telly, but these guys are, John Kelly says, men over in Tinryland, like, you meet these lads, and I wouldn't say take them for granted. You don't take Paddy Quirk or never these lads for granted, but it's great to have the likes of these lads on your own doorstep. And Sean Cabin, I remember one day Carl were playing above in one of the games at Club Park there a couple of years ago, and Sean Cabin came into the pub, and brother followed Carlo fairly well, and introduced Sean Cabin to him, he was delighted, and so it's small county, and I said, if you don't know, lad, you'll get to find out who he is fairly quick. And in fairness to Paddy, the ash burnt fairly well anyway.
still burning. Is Joe making hurls of it? No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. Cracker. A great way to finish. Brian, Stephen, thanks a million. Good luck, lads. All the best. Super stuff. Thanks again to Precision Media Productions, the Babas, Fine Framers, J&J Services, Scats Bouncing Castles, Recovery Hub in Carlow, Milano's Takeaway in Bagenalstown, Seamus Byrne Electrical, Floodlight Orientated, Carpenter's Bar, Lounge and Restaurant, Pint Orientated, and Ray Whelan Limited. Might be looking for Ray Whelan to take me away under that sort of pressure there at the moment. But thankfully, we've made it to the end of the podcast. We're back again next Monday. We'll do it all again. Chat to you soon.